It was just after 3:30 a.m. The city of Indianapolis was quiet, but for Chanti Dixon, the night was just ending. A devoted mother of two, a loving daughter, and a shining star in her community, all she wanted was to get home. Like millions of people every single day, she pulled out her phone and ordered a rideshare. It's a simple routine act, one we all trust will get us home safely. But for Chanti, this one seemingly normal decision sealed her fate. Her loved ones waited for her to arrive, but her front door remained closed. Her phone went silent. The everyday journey home had somehow become a terrifying mystery. And what was ultimately found was a horror no one could have ever prepared for. Welcome to Say Her Name, where we tell the stories of Black women whose cases deserve more attention and whose legacies deserve to be honored. Before we get into the details of this heartbreaking case, let me know in the comments, what state or country are you watching from? Chanti Dixon's story is a chilling reminder of the vulnerabilities we all face and a painful look at the unthinkable dangers that can lurk in the most unexpected places. If her story resonates with you and you believe in shining a light on these important cases, please remember to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Now, let's get into what really happened to Chanti Dixon.
Death. Tonight, she is speaking up for the first time after her daughter's body was found on Monday.
Police say an Uber driver is responsible for the crime. The victim's mother spoke with WRTV's Adam Shooms. She is urging people to remain vigilant while using rideshare services.
She was fun. She was courageous. A ball of life.
Risa Dixon talks about her daughter Chanti in the past tense.
I keep waiting for her to walk through the door, but I know she's not gonna walk through the door.
Police say her 30-year-old daughter's body was found in a wooded area near East Raymond Street and South Sherman Drive on Monday.
For people that's out there doing stuff like that man did to my child, because you picked up a stripper at work and you thought wasn't nobody gonna care, we care. And y'all can't do that.
Before a case becomes a headline, there is a person, a life full of love, purpose, and community. In the narrative of Chanti Dixon, it's vital to understand who she was before the tragedy. Chanti was so much more than a case number. She was the heartbeat of her family and a shining light in her community. Born and raised in Indianapolis, Chanti was the eldest of her siblings, a role she took seriously with an innate sense of responsibility and care. But above all, she was a devoted and fiercely protective mother to her two children, a 13-year-old son and a 10-year-old daughter. Their lives revolved around her, and her entire world was dedicated to them. Friends and family consistently describe her as a mother first, a woman whose every action was guided by her unconditional love for her kids. Her kindness was legendary. Everyone who knew Chanti described her as generous and selfless, always ready to lend a helping hand without a second thought. Her cousin, Eric Young, shared a story that perfectly captures this essence. He spoke of a time when he was going through a difficult period, and Chanti, without being asked, stepped in to help him, providing support and comfort when he needed it most. She had a way of making people feel seen and valued, and her vibrant spirit was contagious, making her the life of any gathering she attended. She was a friend, a confidant, a caregiver, a true force of nature in her community. The world knew her as a woman who worked at a local strip club, but to her family and friends, that was simply a part of her hustle. It was how she provided for her children, a testament to her determination and resilience. She balanced the demanding life of motherhood with the grind of her jobs, never once letting her spirit fade. There was no judgment from those who knew her, only immense respect for a woman who did what she had to do to create a better life for her family. Her presence was a gift, and her impact on others was lasting, a constant ripple of positivity that emanated from her generous soul. The profound sense of loss felt by her community was a testament to the life she lived. Chanti wasn't just a victim. She was a vibrant woman whose story is defined by love, not just tragedy. She was the person you could count on, the one who would show up with a smile and an offer to help. That is the Chanti Dixon her family and friends want you to remember. The woman who lived with a powerful, kind heart, a woman whose life was a beacon of light that was so cruelly and senselessly extinguished. And it was on the early morning of September 8, 2024, that the light began to fade. The early morning of September 8, 2024, wasn't supposed to be a day for a tragedy. It was a simple, routine moment, the kind that plays out millions of times a night in cities across America. Chanti Dixon had just finished her long shift at the Sunset Strip Club. The vibrant spirit she brought to every room she entered was now replaced by the quiet exhaustion of a working mother ready to get home. She stepped outside into the cool Indianapolis air, pulled out her phone, and did what countless others do every day. She opened a rideshare app. A few taps on her screen, and the ride was confirmed. The app showed a car was on its way, driven by a 29-year-old man named Francisco Valadez. It was a seamless, automated transaction, a promise of a safe journey from one point to another. The car arrived, and Chanti, unaware of the horror that awaited her, stepped into the vehicle. She was just a few miles from her home, from her children, from the comfort of her own bed. This was a ride that should have taken less than 10 minutes. It was her last ride. The minutes ticked by. Then the hours. At Chanti's apartment, her loved ones waited, but she never arrived. Her phone, which was usually buzzing with texts and calls, had gone silent. Initially, they tried not to worry. Maybe her phone had died, or she had stopped somewhere to grab a bite. But as the sun rose and the morning turned into afternoon, the silence became deafening. The gut-wrenching realization that something was terribly wrong began to set in. They called the police to file a missing persons report. The investigation began with the grim routine of a city where people disappear every day. But this was no ordinary missing person. This was Chanti Dixon, a woman who was a constant presence in her family's life. A woman who didn't just vanish without a trace. The police, acting on the family's frantic pleas, began retracing her last known steps. They accessed her rideshare data, confirming the route and the driver. The trail, however, went cold. The family, however, refused to give up. Fueled by a desperate hope and a terrifying dread, they began their own search. The discovery came not from a police bulletin, but from a horrifying find in a wooded area not far from Chanti's home. There, among the trees, they found her phone and other personal belongings. The discovery confirmed their worst fears. This was no simple disappearance. The presence of her belongings, discarded and abandoned, told a story of a struggle, a fight, and a sinister act that had been carried out away from the eyes of the public. The mystery had deepened, turning from a missing persons case into something far more sinister. The discovery sent a jolt through the investigation. Police, now with a new sense of urgency, widened their search. Less than 24 hours after she ordered that last ride home, the search ended. Around 1 p.m. on September 9th, in a secluded wooded area on Wagner Lane, the police made a heartbreaking discovery. They found a body. The body was identified as Chanti Dixon. What happened in that car on the way home?
Well, we're learning more this morning about a woman allegedly murdered by her Uber driver just yards from her home.
Metro Police now tell us that that Uber driver allegedly confessed to that murder. Matthew Foltz is following this story this morning with more on a crime that police are calling not only disturbing but disgusting. Good morning, Matthew.
Hey, good morning to you both. This is just a heartbreaking story all the way around. Metro Police telling us that they have arrested 29-year-old Francisco Valadez in connection to Chanti Dixon's murder. Now, officers say that they found Dixon on Sunday naked in a wooded area along Wagner Lane near East Raymond and Shervin Drive. She was found with gunshot wounds and pronounced dead at the scene. According to court documents, Dixon had ordered an Uber after she got off work around 3:30 Sunday morning. Police say Valadez gave investigators conflicting statements before admitting to shooting Dixon in the head while he was trying to have sex with her in the back of his car. Police also claims Dixon made him mad with something she said before shooting her.
This is disgusting, it's disturbing, and we, Ms. Dixon especially, her family, no one deserves to be treated this way in our community, and I am so sorry to her family that we're here today.
The discovery of Chanti's body was a gut-wrenching moment that turned a frantic missing persons search into a cold-blooded murder investigation. In a quiet wooded area on Wagner Lane in Indianapolis, police found her lying face down, naked, with a fatal gunshot wound to the left side of her head. The scene was a stark and horrific contrast to the vibrant, life-giving woman Chanti Dixon was. It was immediately clear to investigators that this was not a simple homicide. Court documents would later reveal that she had been sexually assaulted, a detail that deepened the already profound horror of her death. Fortunately, police had a crucial piece of evidence that pointed them directly to the person who was with her in those final moments: her rideshare data. The app confirmed that her driver was Francisco Valadez, a 29-year-old man who was quickly located and brought in for questioning. The timeline was irrefutable. Chanti's phone had stopped transmitting data after leaving her workplace, and her body was found less than a day later, not far from her home. Valadez's car was the last verified place she had been. When confronted, Valadez immediately began to weave a web of lies. His first story was a frantic tale of a robbery. He claimed that a mysterious armed man had appeared and shot Chanti, forcing him to flee in terror. But his story began to crumble under police scrutiny. The details didn't match, and his demeanor was suspicious. He then switched his narrative, admitting to a struggle but claiming he had acted in self-defense after Chanti allegedly insulted him and grabbed for his gun. However, the police had heard countless stories of self-defense, and this one didn't hold up. The physical evidence, the location of the body, the type of wound, the lack of any defensive injuries on Valadez, told a different story. Faced with the mounting evidence, Valadez's final story emerged, a chilling confession that confirmed the worst of their suspicions. The details he provided to police are truly disturbing. He confessed that he had attempted to sexually assault Chanti while she was in his vehicle. When she fought back and resisted, he shot her in the head. The fact that the murder was committed during an attempted sexual assault was shocking enough, but Valadez's chilling admissions went even further. Court documents reveal that Valadez admitted to attempting to commit further sexual acts with her, both before and after shooting her, before he ultimately dragged her body into the woods and left her there. To cover his tracks, he admitted to discarding her belongings in a separate location, a detail that matched the police's discovery of her phone and personal items. His confession laid bare the truth. Chanti's final moments were not an act of self-defense or a random robbery. They were a violent, premeditated assault by a man who was entrusted to provide her with a safe ride home. This case, like so many others, highlights the grave dangers that women can face even in everyday situations, and the tragic reality that a simple act of trust can be brutally betrayed. This case has drawn significant attention to the vulnerabilities within the rideshare industry. What do you think is the biggest flaw in the current rideshare system that needs to be fixed to prevent tragedies like this? Let me know in the comments below.
As a woman, this hits differently for me. Women, girls, mothers, they have a right to exist freely in our community without fear of something heinous happening to them. They have a right to walk, bike, order a ride share without fearing something bad will happen to them.
Friends say this video of Dixon seen on the right shows how happy she was. They didn't want to talk on camera, but one of her neighbors did.
Because we all pretty much, we look out for each other here. And for that to happen is sad, and for it to be a ride share, that's really sad. You're not even safe getting a ride home.
Neighbors tell me they've seen Dixon moving into this apartment. They've seen her with her kids and her dog.
Horrific. Horrific. That didn't even, it doesn't even make sense. The girl, she just moved here. She ain't even been here a week.
Uber said they have banned Valadez from the app and will continue to assist Indianapolis police in this case. Police also stress that when taking a rideshare, there are options to share your real-time location with people you know.
If something doesn't feel right to you during your ride, you can ask the person to pull over and you can get out.
Police want to hear from anyone who has ridden with Valadez in the past and had any issues with him.
The truth, as it unraveled in court, was more chilling than any of the fabricated stories Francisco Valadez had offered. His confession laid bare a heinous act of violence, but it was only the beginning of a long, painful journey for Chanti's family. Despite his confession, Valadez's first formal action in court was to enter a plea of not guilty. This surprising move served as a gut-wrenching moment for a family seeking immediate justice. Valadez was quickly charged with felony murder, sexual assault, and abuse of a corpse and held without bond. However, the wheels of justice turn slowly, and the promise of a trial is a long and arduous road for the loved ones left behind, a constant reminder of the fight they must endure to get justice for Chanti. This plea, and the ongoing legal proceedings, brought Chanti's story to a wider audience, revealing a pattern of vulnerability that disproportionately affects Black women. While Chanti's case gained national attention due to its chilling details and the rideshare connection, it is also a story that resonates with a much larger, systemic issue. Too often, the names and faces of Black women who are victims of violence are forgotten, their stories not given the media coverage they deserve. Their lives are devalued, and their cases are not treated with the urgency they require. The Say Her Name movement was created precisely for this reason, to ensure that women like Chanti Dixon are not just a statistic, but a person, a life, a legacy that is honored and remembered. Chanti's story is a painful reminder that even in an age of technological convenience, the safety of women, and particularly Black women, is never guaranteed. The irony is staggering. We put our trust in a simple app, believing it provides a shield of anonymity and accountability, only to have that trust brutally shattered. The promise of a rideshare service is that a person can get from point A to point B safely. In Chanti's case, that promise was betrayed by the very person who was supposed to be a trusted provider of that service. This betrayal highlights a critical need for systemic change, not just in the gig economy, but in our society as a whole. A woman's right to move freely and without fear of violence is a fundamental human right. Assistant Chief Catherine Cummings of the Indianapolis Metropolitan Police Department spoke directly to this, stating that women deserve to move in their communities without fear. This should not be a statement that needs to be made. It should be a lived reality for every woman, everywhere. But while the fight for justice for Chanti Dixon continues, her story also serves as a guide, offering critical insights into how we can all work to prevent such tragedies from happening again. It forces us to ask tough questions and to demand better from the systems and institutions we rely on. First, and most immediately, there are critical rideshare safety measures that must be implemented and enforced. This includes more rigorous driver screening processes that go beyond basic background checks. Companies should be encouraged to implement real-time monitoring of rides, using GPS data and in-app emergency support features that can be triggered by a passenger in distress. We, as passengers, must also take responsibility for our own safety by utilizing the safety features already available to us. Sharing our ride details with a trusted contact, verifying the driver's name and license plate, and trusting our gut if something feels wrong. Second, Chanti's case underscores the importance of community vigilance and reporting. Her family's prompt action in reporting her missing was crucial in a case where every minute mattered. As a community, we must do better at looking out for one another. This includes paying attention to suspicious behavior and promptly reporting it to authorities, and making sure that missing persons reports, especially those concerning women of color, are acted upon with urgency and without bias. Third, we must advocate for and provide support for survivors and their families. The tragedy doesn't end when the body is found or when the killer is arrested. It is a lifelong journey of grief, trauma, and legal battles. Providing trauma-informed care, counseling, and legal assistance to victims and their loved ones is an essential part of the healing process. It acknowledges their pain and gives them the resources they need to navigate a broken system. Finally, Chanti's legacy calls for a greater sense of awareness and education. Her life was so much more than her death, and in honoring her, we must educate ourselves and others about the dangers that exist and how to navigate them. It is not about living in a state of fear, but about being empowered with knowledge. Sharing stories like Chanti's, not for shock value, but for the purpose of awareness and prevention, is a vital part of this process. Her story is a heartbreaking reminder of the vulnerabilities that exist in everyday life and the urgent need for a societal shift to protect individuals, particularly women, from violence. Chanti Dixon's life was a testament to love, kindness, and resilience. Her death was a senseless act of violence that has left a profound hole in her family and community. While we cannot change what happened, we can ensure her story serves a greater purpose. Her family is still fighting for justice. What's one thing we can all do to help create a safer world in her name? If you feel this story is important, please take a moment to like, share, and subscribe. Your support helps us continue to shine a light on these powerful and often overlooked stories.